Hello, everybody. This is one and only Grundy Tony, and today we have a very special guest, and along with him, his spouse. We have James Beck, the original and the oldest student of Sydney Banks, and along with him, we have his fiancee, Ros. So, with honor and pleasure, let's welcome James and Ros. Hi, guys. How are you today?
Very well, thank you, Curran.
Great.
And you?
I'm very good. So good to have you here.
Good.
So, today we are going to talk about love and relationship. So I would like to keep it all natural, and I would like to start with James. James, what is true love, and what are the good aspects of a good relationship?
Well, what is true love? And all love is true love. What we found helpful is that we understand that we create a feeling of love for ourselves. That is our gift to ourselves. Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And true love is, there's no not true love. There may be depths of love, and there are different kinds of relationships which involve different, different levels or intensities of love or commitment to the feeling of love with another person. But love is the feeling. Love is that oneness feeling. Love is the basis of everything, as we learn in 3P and we practice in 3P. And so we create that feeling of love. We may have some kind of stimulation for it, some person we see, but love is that feeling. It's that universal feeling. It's what drives everything in everyone's life, really. That's a deep one, but that's what my experience has grown to show me, and so I don't know whether that's the answer that you were hoping for, but a vital part of any relationship or of living life. I want to quote Shakespeare, Hamlet, Polonius's advice to his son. Last line, I believe it is, and this above all things, to thine own self be true. So I need to be true to myself in our relationship. Ros needs to be true to herself in our relationship as well. And respecting that, I think, is a very powerful structure for a successful relationship. Respecting separate realities. That is part of 3P. We all create our own reality. And when you're in a relationship, which you almost are all the time in some form or another, then the other person in the room or people in the room are all in their own separate realities as well. And if we respect that, then going astray, is much less. It's not going to happen. But as we begin sharing today, I'd like to turn it over to Ros, and perhaps she could talk about our relationship and a wonderful event that's coming up for us, as well as how we met. So over to you, darling.
Thank you. Approximately 6 years ago, I was at home at that point in time living in Victoria, and received a phone call from my niece, and it was during the day. And I initially asked her if everyone in the family was well, because it's unusual to get a phone call in the middle of the day from my niece. And she said yes. she was well and her parents were well. And she just wanted to chat with me for a moment or two. And during the chat, she brought up the fact that she wanted to know if I would be open to possibly meeting someone, because she knew that in the past I had been dating someone and that had not worked out. And I had terminated a marriage and gone through a divorce. So I said, yes, I would be willing to consider that, but didn't know exactly how to go about doing that. And she said that she had met a gal at work and the two of them had been talking, and it came up that the other gal, who turns out to be Jim's daughter, excuse me, and my niece were talking about their parents. And the fact that Jim was recently, his wife had recently passed away, and that I was single, and perhaps the two of us might like to meet up together and see if we had any common interests. So after she sort of explained to me how I could go about doing that, and meeting possibly for a cup of coffee or somewhere, it was left that Jim's daughter would speak to him and that he would give me a phone call. So he did that afternoon, and we arranged to meet and have a cup of coffee at a local place in Brentwood Bay, which was fairly close to where I was living. So Jim came over and we met at this restaurant. It was in an outside restaurant because it was in summertime. And I was quite taken by the man that I met. He was sitting down, but before I let you know this, I had gone online to see what he looked like, to see if he might be someone that I could possibly relate to or have an interest in. And I decided that he was. So that gave me encouragement that I should go ahead with this. So I parked the car and walked up to him, and we met and sat down to have an iced tea. And we started talking. And one of the first things Jim said was that he was involved with something that was very important to him. And he would like me to consider it, if it was appropriate, that I should become involved as well, as it meant a lot to him. And so I thought, oh my heavens, what is this? But anyhow, proceeded to shore up my courage and asked him to explain what it was. And so he explained to me about the 3 principles in quite straightforward and easy language. And I thought, my heavens, this is something I've been searching for a long time. And isn't this unique and strange? So we spent the next hour or so just chatting, not so much about the 3 principles, but about what we were doing and what was happening in our lives. And then went and had lunch, and then went for a walk, and then arranged that we would meet the following weekend over on Salt Spring and go to the market and just share time together. So that's how it started. And it was wonderful. I came away with a wonderful feeling and thought, yes, perhaps this might work in a relationship.
Hmm, interesting. And I would like to ask you, oh my God, so lovely. What did you like about James the most the first time you met him?
I liked his ease of talking and ability to share what he was feeling. And it didn't seem that he was putting on any pretenses and trying to sell me a story. He was very natural,
Well,
and he put me at ease. Um, and he was willing to try things, to look at what we could do as a couple and how we could share together. And that was important to me. And he was not in a great hurry to rush and force me into anything. I could come along and enjoy the ride. So,
beautiful,
Nice.
thank you.
And that, what Ros was saying about my being open to new things and to sharing things together, that has been really kind of a key for us, in that it doesn't really matter what you're doing. What matters is that you do things together and that you spend time together. So in our case, we, first of all, we spent almost 24/7 from then on with each other, with a few, maybe a couple of days, but all in all, and until we moved in together, we were probably together everything but about 2-3 weeks all put together, because I immediately started staying with her in her house, and then when we would go back for the rest of the week, we'd come over to Salt Spring to my place, and so that we were actually joined together at the hip, really. And we love traveling on the ferry together. We both have little dogs, and we love our dogs, and we love working it out with our dogs. Roz had ideas of things that I had never participated in. She loves opera. She loves classical music. And those are totally new ventures for me, which the important thing is we're sharing. So I put myself in learning mode for these things, and rather than not wanting to do it or shutting it down on the opera thing. Or one night she came out with, she would love to buy motor scooters and zoom around the area on these Vespas. Well, in order to do that, I had to take my safety courses and actually get a motorcycle license to do this. And for Roz, she had a license, but she hadn't ridden for
15
years, but she kept the license active. But what had happened 15 years earlier is that she'd had a motorcycle accident, and that shut it down for her for all that time. But she was thinking, maybe I'm too old, I would say, or maybe I'm not, but I would love to try again. And I would like, it would be a lot easier, if I had a partner to do that with. So I stepped up on that. And it was not easy, but it was a great learning experience for me. Looking back on it, I had to measure myself compared to what I was when I was younger. In other words, when I went to write the written test, I'm a smart guy, but all of a sudden I was insecure about writing a multiple choice test to get my motorcycle license. Would I know the rules of the road on paper and so on? And I wasn't, it took me a lot longer to learn that stuff than it used to. And the actual hands-on, I was the dumbest guy in class. It took me, probably a month longer at least.
Yeah, and then we took some private instruction, and there was a lot of cursing and muttering and swearing and carrying on mainly on Jim's part, because he
Right.
felt so inept,
Yeah,
but he wanted to do it and he was enjoying it, but it was very frustrating for him.
sure. But, it was worth it. And what made it worth it, I don't really give a damn about whether or not I ride a motor scooter. I love it. We both have them still. We're probably coming to the end of that era now. But it was hanging around with Ros. That's what it was all about. Sharing.
And
Sharing. It's key. It's key, I believe, to successful relationship. Sharing. And also, what I said at the beginning, to thine own self be true. I needed to be true to myself, and Ros needed to be true to herself. We are still in separate realities, no matter how much time we're spending together. And success in that requires allowing each other to be true to their own self, and understanding that, and not trying to change that, not trying to force compromise. But when compromise appears willingly, because you're being true to yourself and your partner, then that deepens the relationship. That's the point of that. So this 6 years, almost 6 years we've been together. It's activities has been a large part of it. Getting our houses together, those odd jobs that need to be done, doing them willingly, sharing, doing them, changing your ideas, being open to the ideas of another person. That's how a couple gets stronger. That's we both have ideas. We got two brains here, and they can either, my way, or they can be our way, and that comes from being true to yourself, but on the highest level, knowing that is loving the other person enough to allow them space to be true to their self. Otherwise, you diminish, instead of it having that synergy, it has the opposite, and it can't carry on. And then talk about, if you would talk about our future.
okay.
And the big event that's coming up.
So in February, we were a good 5.5 years of sharing together and living together for almost 3 years. And Jim rolled over in bed one night and said, "I've been thinking." And I said, "Okay, what have you been thinking?" And he said, "I've been thinking that we should get married." And I said, I thought about that for a moment and said, "I think that would be a lovely idea." So that was the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, and a deepening understanding and love for each other. And it's coming up in June. And there's been a lot of sharing and not ups and downs, but discussion about how we're going to do it. Not so much when we're going to do it, because we wanted to be able to do it so that our families could be there if it was possible. And where. And we both had an idea that we would like to be in a park and have the wedding in the park. But the logistics of the whole thing didn't work out. How would we arrange for seating? How would we arrange for all the ins and outs? And then we wanted to have a light lunch with it. And it didn't work to be able to have the food there and keep it refrigerated and things like that. So where we live is is a 55 plus community, and there's a very nice clubhouse. But with COVID being present, we hadn't been able to access the clubhouse. But with a number of the restrictions being lifted, it is now open. And so we went and we had booked the clubhouse. We had decided that that would be a very nice location after checking out several other venues. So a lot of it was putting out ideas and talking about them and sharing and throwing in other options and just sometimes leaving ideas to percolate and not pressing either of us one way or another, but just going with the flow of what seemed to be working and what felt good. And that seems to be a lot of how our relationship has been, is just respecting each other and talking about what's important to us and making changes and being comfortable with the changes and being happy with them. So we're getting married in beginning of June, and it's an unusual thing for people our age probably to be doing, but we're very excited, and our friends are excited, and our families are excited. So it's wonderful.
Yep. And what's interesting to me, from the moment that, when we decided to get married, before that, we had been living an incredibly beautiful life. Nothing lacking, nothing needed, just in the way that we've been describing. But funnily enough, when the proposal went out, first of all, when I put out the proposal, before I embarked on it, I said to myself, and truly, it's up to Ros. And if she says no, I will not be rejected. I'm quite happy with the way things are. I'm not going to put my happiness out there based on one little thing, one question, even that question. So that was a very safe question for me to ask. It was just, what do you want to do? And she made that choice. And, almost instantly, both of our levels of consciousness went up. We had thought that wasn't possible, Karen. We were so happy anyway. But now, with that new thing to share, it's not motor scootering. We also have e-bikes. It's not e-bikes. We've traveled together. It's not that next trip. Gardening, making our home more beautiful. All wonderful things that make you feel good, as according to your choices. But basically, the choice to be happy and sharing. But all of a sudden, we took off into the clouds, and we've been walking on, you say walking on air, walking on clouds, feeling that beautiful love that's deepening, giddy almost, and I just love that feeling, and having it happen out of sharing, getting married, sharing something that is, it's just a ceremony, you know what I mean? But yet, it's that there's an energy around it, and we're sampling it, and we are just, it's just giving us a wonderful life. And now, what happens after June 8th, when we get married? I can only see it getting better and better. It's not going to be oh, that's that. Now we crash. Okay, now we're, it's all sealed. You can't leave me, you know, or something like that. And there's not going to be any of that. That's just an outrageous thought. We look forward to whatever else. We've got a honeymoon coming up in September. We're going to Maui, and it's all arranged. My daughter lives on Maui, and I lived on Maui for 22 years in earlier life. So it's the natural place. And I can't wait for that honeymoon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It'll be lovely.
And then after that, there'll be something else, because it's just a way of, of sharing. And it isn't only on incredible occasions like that. It can be on, during that 6 years, life's a contact sport. Ros was hospitalized for a week or so. Was that once? Once. You have all of the things that anybody would have in life that sometimes are considered frightening, or cause you to get upset, or yes, we may, when she went into the hospital for a week, and I had to look after both her little dog and visit her every night, and that's not a time of joy. However, there was still that incredible love happening, that concern, the privilege of having somebody to love, the privilege of having somebody to care for. It's another, it's just life in another form. And we grew closer, tighter through that experience. And I've had my own share of things, but we're incredibly lucky with our health, actually, so far in life. But I'm just saying, it's the sharing, it's the caring, it's the loving. No, that and whatever level, that's true love. But I'm not saying that that's the only form of true love.
And it's not just necessarily romantic love. It's the joy you feel within yourself for a situation, for another person, just for living. We don't have to depend on an outside somebody or something happening. You feel, you have a wonderful feeling within you because it comes from within.
Thanks. That feeling we give ourselves, and the privilege we have in the moment, it's precious.
So both of us, I think, at some point in time before we met, had what I'm saying, put it out there, had said, it would be so nice to meet someone that we can relate to, that we could share with, that we could love. And just be true to themselves and allow me to be true to myself.
Mm-hmm.
We had just put it out there, talking ourselves and either out loud or within our own heads, and then had let it be, sort of saying, if it isn't going to happen, it isn't going to happen, but I'm not going to compromise who I am just in order to be in a situation, because life is too short and life is too precious.
I knew I wanted another partner. I was determined on that. And the reason was I had an incredible marriage, also full of love. And you know, I went through the grief of losing my wife to cancer. But all through that terrible part, I knew that I wasn't going to just, oh, that's it. I can't find anybody else. I don't deserve it. I've had so much. Why would I want to get more? You know, I'll never achieve that. I felt that my life would be so much richer and fuller, and that I had something to offer another, you know, a new partner, another partner. So it didn't come right away. And I did try with another girlfriend, and it didn't work out. But that was still, you know, that was a valid experience. But in the end, it was not a kind of mutual understanding. So yeah, you know, that had ended already, but I was not deterred. I still felt there would be somebody I wanted. I was open to having another chance, and that's when we met. That was taken care of for us. We just trust, and it happened.
So, Perrin, we've told you a little bit about what's important to us. Can you tell us what's important to you in a relationship?
Okay. For me, at this age, I'm like quite looking for someone who is open-minded. Okay. And what's important for me is that the partner or the other person should be someone that I'm happy with, because to love is to be happy with. No matter how rich or how beautiful the other person is, but if you're not happy with them, that's not a good relationship. So yeah, somebody with whom I could be happy, I could have a good time, I could just truly be myself. Like as you said, you have to be true to yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's what's important for me. Would you elaborate more on like being true to yourself?
Go ahead and start.
Well, the way I see it right now, at this point in my life, being true to myself is to live as a kind person, to live as an understanding person, to live as a loving person. Um, to in that vein of understanding, to be aware of separate realities, that everybody is in their own reality that they are creating, and that allows you to pull back on judgment, to pull back on those kind of separating ideas or feelings. That doesn't mean if you find you try a relationship and you realize that you know you are allowing your partner to be themselves, but your partner doesn't catch on, and perhaps creates hurtful behavior or that, then you know you understand that they are coming from their own world, that they are creating their own world, and you can try to share that, but you can't make that happen. The other person has to you know, catch on for themselves. You can, so that allows you to be understanding and non-judgmental, and it also frees you to change things for yourself, so that you may still you know, care about that person, but you realize that they have their choices to make, and if they don't reciprocate, in kind, then it's time to move on. So, that is living and being true to yourself. Um, being honest is being true to yourself, but not being hurtful. And being honest and being kind with the honesty. And that way reaching out and looking for understanding within that honesty. And also being able to honestly look at yourself and realize that, this idea of separate realities applies to me too. And it's not just that I'm in my own reality, but my reality can change from moment to moment. And so to be able to honestly look again, because you may make snap judgments, snap opinions, and go with that. And as being true to yourself, you need to look honestly at your own behavior and at your own realities, and what you took to be real in a certain moment of the past is not necessarily what was real in that moment. It's just your perception of it now. And of course, we want to let go of the past anyway. But sometimes the forgiveness that you're looking for is forgiving your past actions too. And that's being true to yourself. I need to be the best person I can be. And now I realize that I made a mistake. And so in being the best person I can be, I forgive myself. And if there's other actions that I see I need to take those. And if I don't, if that wouldn't be wise, because it's now, not then do what I see, now. Grow from it, in other words. And we are all on a constant journey. And our role in that journey is to grow and change. So be aware of that. Allow yourself that. That's being true to yourself. Right now, in my reality, at least.
And everybody's reality is a little different. You can have 3 or 4 people at the scene of an accident, and they all see the scene through their own eyes and their own experiences, and they can relate 5 or 6 totally different stories about the same incident. And you wonder, you say, no, that's not how it was.
Yeah.
It's not how it was for you as an individual, but it may have been how it was for another individual.
We had a little fender bender about a month ago. Mm-hmm. And we were at Starbucks, the coffee thing. And we were sitting in our car and parked in a slot, and we backed out. Ros was driving, and she backed out and started to make, to make the turn. Our beepers were going. She had looked both ways, and all of a sudden there was a little bump. Minor, but so I did not really see this because I was in the passenger seat looking forward, but I felt the bump and I turned around and okay, something's happened. We hit somebody. Let's pull back in and let's go exchange driver's licenses and do what you do. So I went out, and the car that we had engaged with had also parked on the other side in a slot. And so I went out, the lady was there. We met in between. Ros was coming around, and we had our phones out, and we went over and looked at this little scratch kind of dent in her back, whatever, quarter panel or something, and took pictures of it. And the way she had parked, and where our car was and where her car was when she parked, I made an assumption. You're coming out this way, we're coming out this way, bump. She said, no, my car was standing still when you hit me. Well, I thought, okay, that doesn't change what I saw. You just stopped. You saw she stopped, and you know, but you weren't there when we started to back up. Well, as it turns out, the way her story went, she had not been parking and backing out. She had been driving along, and she stopped her car behind us. And we were the ones that did all of the backing in to the other car. Now that's two quite different versions. It's so different that instead of it being a shared responsibility, a shared blame for the accident, we were totally at fault. Separate realities. You see it, you write the story without getting all the information, and your story is totally different from the story she got. And in fact, there may be discrepancies in her own story that we don't know about. And certainly Ros's was different than mine. And we were in it. And yet, you know, when we talked to the insurance adjuster or whatever, he was writing it down and plotting it, and he took great pains to explain what she had said and the difference it made in terms of responsibility. So yeah, that's just a simple 3 people, 3 different versions. Same incident. Thank God nobody was hurt. Thank God the damage was negligible, you know. But just saying, you know, that's common. In fact, that's happening every minute. But we're getting a little bit off couples when we take it to that place.
But it's not necessarily a question of laying blame and saying you did this, you didn't do that, I did this. It's just a matter of this happened. How can we learn from it?
Yeah.
Life carries on. No one was hurt, fortunately, and it wasn't anything that was major.
No.
And so we carry on, hopefully having learned.
Yeah, and this is called understanding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Understanding each
And,
other.
yeah, and there's also an opportunity to not be judging.
Exactly.
And to be grateful.
Be grateful. Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. And I would like to ask you, what made you want to marry Ros?
I love her. Look at her. She's a beautiful girl. I love her soul.
So
I trust her. I feel really lucky to be spending my time with Ros.
wow.
That's, you know, that's it. And it's almost as though it's destiny. I'm just fitting in with what's meant to happen. You know, gladly, you know, with excitement, energy, you know, all of that. But that, you know, it's just natural evolution that I clicked into. There was, you know, as far as preparation for it, it was, the thought came in about 3 times during that day. And I said to myself, actually, where did that come from? And I answered myself, honestly, that came from mind. That was from the greater. That wasn't from my little mind. It was not something I wanted to possess. It was simple. This thought came out of nowhere. I just saw it, did nothing with it. It came back a couple hours later, maybe 4 times, 5 times during the day. So when I shared it with Ros, that's what I said. This thought has been coming into my mind today. What do you think about getting married? That was it.
Beautiful.
And she recognized it as being right.
Would you talk more about understanding, like how to bring understanding in relationship?
Thinking, I'll let you start.
I think it just comes if you want it. You just let it come. Understanding, it's like, well, there's so many levels to the word. But I think the level that you're talking about is understanding towards another. And for that, again, it's putting yourself in their place. They're just, doing what they do because of what they see. Or they're acting, perhaps they're not in the now. And so they don't really know what they're doing. And they're just doing things reactively. And sometimes, that, it's not a great practice. And then they get in deeper. So understanding is like seeing actions of people that are not coming out of wisdom, and understanding that they don't quite get it. They're innocent. Understanding that things that you would normally, in the past, perhaps you would judge people on. A great one is COVID right now. I mean, whatever side you are on the masking, vaccination, restriction or no restriction issues that are there, rather than getting upset or angry or frightened about the other side, give them understanding. Realize they're innocent. They're not out to get me. They're not out to get, you. I'm not out to get them. But you get caught up in the fear or the frustration. You don't want to be restricted. You don't want to wear masks. You don't want to accept this situation. It doesn't have to be that way, ideas. And the other side saying, come on, we're talking about humanity here and society, and people are dying as a result of this and this, so you have to if you're called upon, you share your opinion, but you need to do it without judgment. You need to do it with understanding that people are in another reality. And it's not the one you're in. You're in your own reality. I'm in my own reality. Let's say we are all in our own realities. And that separate realities issue means that we're separating rather than being together. There's no oneness in the separate realities, except for the fact that we are commonly in our own reality. And that's unifying. That's the oneness.
And sometimes you just have to agree to disagree. And there's no point in trying to win a battle or win a discussion or be in charge, be the final say in anything. You can very easily just agree to disagree, that you don't agree on that in that situation. And by doing that, it takes away the pressure that you feel you need to be correct or right, because the situation can change the next time you talk about it because the scenario is different.
Families separate over it. You know, people that love each other all of a sudden withdraw their love. And of course, we know love is a feeling you give yourself. So all of a sudden you're hurting yourself because you're judging and you just cannot accept, you know, another person's viewpoint. You do not have to accept it, but what you need to do is understand they're in their own reality, and that's what they're believing right now. And you will take what actions you want, but you need to do it with love, not with judgment and condemnation. Even though, you know, whatever side you're on, you can move to fear and separation. And we're not meant to be afraid of each other, and we're meant to be one. So, you know, remember your highest. It's a tough one. That really, you know, that really puts the feet to the fire kind of thing. It's all about love, Curran. It's all about love. And if you apply that measure, then you'll be all right.
And it's also about being in the now. You know, what happened 10 years ago, what happened yesterday is not the present situation. Certainly it can influence the present situation. But just because something happened years ago that someone doesn't remember, and you are holding a grudge against them for something that they said or did, doesn't help you as an individual in your growth.
And that person may not even know what they did. That's sad. But we still can be happy. But, you know, and that's a judgment on it. But yes. I remember when I was teaching and I had two girls and they were cousins. And one of them came to me at one point and said, well, that's my cousin. I didn't even know they were related. They were in my class. And they were not on speaking terms. And, you know, this had gone on for a couple of years now, and here they end up in this class. And before that, they were great friends. And the parents were sisters, and the sisters had gotten into the same thing that had originated with their daughters. And so they had split this family. And finally, I woke up and I at one point, and I went over and I called both of them outside my classroom. And I said, you guys go take a walk and have a talk. And they took about a half an hour. When they came back, they were friends, and they couldn't remember why they had these feelings for why they were mad at each other. It was years later now. It had gone on for 3 or 4 years. So it was over. But what a waste.
So what was that that changed then? Like earlier, they were mad at each other. What changed?
From being mad to not, they took a walk.
So what was in the walk?
What are you doing? What's up? They both missed each other. They both wanted that. They didn't want the fighting. It was, terrible.
They were sharing.
They started to share.
Okay.
And as soon as they did, they started to reconnect and rebond. And, I'm not sure what happened at home. I think they went home. I think they fixed it all. All it took was to get out of class together.
I think they must also have been listening to each other and what they were saying and taking it in instead of putting up defenses.
They missed each other.
Missed each other. Yes. And I would like to ask you, these days I see, especially young people, what I see is that they are quite dependent on their partner. And the way I see it, it's more of an addiction than love. And when they lose the partner, they start committing suicide, hurting themselves, or drinking alcohol. So, what advice would you like to give for those people?
Be true to yourself and make that being true to yourself your highest self, the loving self. That's the secret right there. Go to love, be a loving person. Don't engage in any of the old buttons, of the old triggers that one uses to control another, and that control is to create fear or insecurity or competition or that. Don't respond to the buttons. Stay high, stay happy, stay in your highest space, be loving, be understanding.
Stay in the positive.
Stay in the positive. And then your partner has a choice. They will get frustrated, or they will join you. They will keep trying. They will keep, doing things that they knowingly, used to upset you, and you have your triggers to respond and upset them. Hold your fire. Don't play. Love them. Understand them. Change. And they'll say, "What are you doing?" "I've changed. I'm not doing that anymore. I've changed now." You can change too. Some won't change, and that'll be that. And it's a relief to both of them. But many will change because they want to be happier too. And it can go back and forth in a relationship like that. One is growing in consciousness. The other one is still stuck. Zap, 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 "Oh, what did you do that for? You're always doing this," whatever the buttons are. And the one that's changed, truly changed, just be quiet, leave the room, read a book, do what you like. And when challenged, say, "I'm not playing that game anymore. I've changed. I want to be happy. It's really great being happy. You should try it. Let's do something different. Let's do something like, that we know we both like." And then as we go up and down, the one that changed may regress, or the one that hasn't changed changes, and all of a sudden it's a competition. "Well, now you're happier than I was. What's going on?" Psst, psst, psst. Pop the balloons if you can, and hopefully that will all stop. That's what happens as you grow. You change, and you don't want to engage in destructive behaviors. That's what we want. That's being true to yourself and being loving and understanding. Understand the place that the guy is or the girl is that is frightened, and that they're acting out of fear.
And I think it's important to have hope.
I agree.
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can see it. There may be a struggle, but you can see that there is something potential. It gives you hope that you can carry on, and realistic hope. Not that you will stop. I can live in this situation and still continue to be beaten up. That's not a healthy situation. Being true to yourself and having hope.
It's a wonderful world. It really is a wonderful world. We just need to get in sync with that. Our default is a wonderful world. Our figurings out and our manipulations and that's avoiding our default. That's creating negativity. Forget about creating negativity. Don't do it.
And certainly when you're down in the dumps, it's hard to not be thinking negatively.
And that's where we can, have that love and understanding for ourselves. I've done it again. Here I am waking up and I'm grouchy, I'll never get it. Of course you will. You have it already. But we also have an ego. But the higher you go in consciousness, the less and less the ego is there. So you focus on the positive and you focus on being in the now. That's the change. Once you've changed, the now is it's the new you. And it's got to continue to be that way. In other words, new again. And new again.
Also, I would like to ask you, uh, I see that people after breakup, they feel so down that they start hating themselves. They even think about committing suicide.
Sure.
So what would you say to those who feel like they're not worthy because their partner has left them, because they have just had a breakup?
Well, I would say for the first thing, they're, instead of
I would say listen to truth. This is a story I heard this year. I've been using it so often. I should give this person a cut or something. I heard it from Linda Pransky. I don't know whether you know of Linda, but they came to the island. They were some of the first psychologists that arrived on the island, and they were touched by Sid, and they saw something happening. They were just in their beginning stages, and they'd been a few times, for the weekend or to hear talks and to talk with Sid, and then they came for the summer and brought their kids, and on their way down, they drove up to Salt Spring, and she filed away a couple of questions she wanted to ask Sid. And the first one went like this: Sid, they were out for a coffee. I think there was other people there even. our business is just not going the way we want. It just seems like people aren't getting it. We're depressed ourselves. We can't seem to get out of it. We can't seem to get happy. You know, is there, what can we do? Have you got some advice? And Sid looked at her and he said, do you know how to be happy? Yeah, I know how to be happy. Try that. And the same thing happened again, saying, okay, you know, it was like, wow, what kind of an answer is this? Try that. It's that easy. And so she had her second question later. You know, Sid, I got another question. Okay, shoot. Well, our relationship is not going that great. Things are not what they used to be. It seems like we're growing farther and farther apart instead of coming together, as it seems like to me that's what we should be. I think we're lacking something, and I'm just wondering what you might, you know, is there anything you can tell us to similar question to what you just asked, you know, only it's farther down the line. And he looked back over to her and he said, do you know how to be happy? Yeah, I know how to be happy. Try that. So anybody that's in that, you know, it seems heartless, does it? You can tell them with love. Try being happy. You can be happy. You know how to feel happy. Feel happy. You don't need something on the outside to help you be happy. It's just like the feeling of love. You do not need an object to be happy. You can be happy from looking at something. That happiness is coming from inside it. You know, you may be confused. You may think it's because that beautiful girl will go out with you. It's your feeling. It may be because that sunset is incredible. It's the feeling of love comes into me. It's not the sunset. It's the love. You create the love. You create the happiness. You let go of everything else and you're left with it. Pure love, pure joy, pure happiness. It's all sitting there waiting. You have it. We all have it. I shouldn't even be saying you and you know, it's the same for everyone. We all have it. With our thinking, we distract ourselves and convince ourselves somehow that we don't. Because we're caught up in the idea of the outside in. So you've been, you know, your spouse has left you. That's the outside. It's all a matter of how you look at it. You could say, thank God he's gone. Now, where am I? I'm happy. What is my problem? Thank God she's gone, you know, or maybe not like that, but I'm sorry he's gone, and I'm sorry that he has not seen anything. And I suspect he's unhappy too, even if he ran off with somebody else. Ultimately, deep down, he's, you know, he's got to find happiness from inside, or it'll be a repeat. And if he finds it from the inside, then that's beautiful for him or her. And you finding your own happiness from inside, that's beautiful for you. And it doesn't belong to somebody else. And when you go into that happy place, you will attract the partner that is suitable for you.
That's the secret.
Yeah, it's that easy. The situation surrounding it sounds so hard, but it's all just smoke and mirrors. Covering up your soul. You've got everything. We've all got everything. and we can access it in one thought. So it's so nice to have this time together, just to have a laugh and sing a song. And so, what is it? We say, what, anytime, any place, so long, something like that.
It's been good to know.
It's been good, yeah, so long. It's been good to know you. No, I've really enjoyed this talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Curran.
And thank you,
Thank you
Karen.
very much.
It seems like we've said the things that we need to say in this one. I love talking with you.
Same here. Same here.
It's a great, it's a great feeling for me. It's a great opportunity. It's been a great opportunity for us. It's been I feel it's been a wonderful opportunity for Ros to emerge more. And I love sharing our story together. So thanks.
Thank you very much, James and Ross. It was a pleasure talking with you, and I wish you both a very happy married life.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you all the joy in your coming time.
Thank you very much. I wish you the same. All right. Any last words would you like to give to the audience?
Just the usual. It's all about love.
Live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life to the fullest.
Yeah, feel the love, and you deserve it. It's your feeling.
All right. Okay, James. Okay, Ross. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking with you. Have an awesome day.
Take care.